Alright, so I'm thinking about raising the height of my grow bed by an additional plank height, so that is about 20 centimeters. This will of course allow me to double the amount of soil that I can put in there and roughly also increase or double the amount of thermal mass that it has, which of course means that it can hold on to more warmth. So there are still some plants in the grow bed, some pepper plants mostly, and of course my lotus tub over there. Now the pepper plants, they look a little bit sad, but they're not dead. We had some frost last night around -3 degrees Celsius. So in my experience, normally that's enough to knock over a pepper plant. But I think the grow bed still did its job by keeping them relatively safe. So that's why the leaves are kind of hanging downwards, but the plant is not overall dead. Same goes for the lotus. The water in the lotus tub was not frozen this morning, so that's a good sign. But eventually, if the winter continues and we have quite some frosty nights, this place will still freeze over eventually. But really during the day I can tell the difference. So right now outside of the greenhouse it's about 2 degrees Celsius, so just above freezing, while inside the dome right now it's around 7 to 8 degrees Celsius. So yeah, still very cozy in here. Really need to clean my car after this. Anyway, these are 7 new planks of 2.5 meters, which should be enough for the entire dome.
So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you, anyway.
So now that the days are getting very short, I only have so many hours on my off day that I can spend working on projects like these. And of course I'm extra happy when the sun is out. Outside it's about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. However, inside the dome it's actually getting pretty warm. Let's see if you can, yeah, it says 21 degrees Celsius, so that's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, actually pretty warm, so much so that I had to get rid of my body warmer. Anyway, I'm gonna continue sanding and then I'm going to cover all of the planks with a protective coat. The peppers were more damaged by the frost than I initially thought, so in the end I decided to get rid of them.
This is not a bad harvest. I can almost start a little pepper shop. So these are the regular chilies and these are the chocolate habaneros, and they are very spicy. I've tried one and yeah, be careful.
I carefully cut the bubble wrap plastic so that there was enough wiggle room to fit a new plank in there, while also keeping as much of the insulation intact and functional. So I finally managed to fully construct the new top section of the ring grow bed here in the dome, and I'm pretty happy with it. It might look like some patchwork here and there, but it's actually fairly sturdy. As you can see, I'm sitting on it right now, and if I wiggle these planks, they're not going anywhere, so they're pretty solid and more than enough to hold the soil inside of the grow bed. I also try to utilize as much of the new material that I bought, and this is all I have left, so I'd say that is a job pretty well done. Now, this grow bed needs a lot of new material to be filled up all the way to the top. Fortunately for me, right across the street there is a little patch of ground, and Up until recently, 2 ponies were grazing there. Now, I talked to the girl that was taking care of the ponies and I asked her, like, what are you doing with all the manure? Because she was just piling it up all around. And she said, well, nothing really. You want to use it? It's like, yeah, actually, I do. But I did ask her if the ponies were getting any herbicides, pesticides, or anti-worm medication. She said, no, take as much as you want. And that is, of course, what I'm going to do. Now, before I do that, I need to get rid of the last few things that are actually in the grow bed right now. So some of the oyas and a few plants, and of course the little utility table that I have. But right now, let's grab a wheelbarrow and let's start piling up some pony manure. So there's quite a big pile over here and to the side here as well. And that IBC over there is also filled with manure. So it's a lot and hopefully it's enough, but we'll see. But this is a good head start to fill up my grow bed.
So some of this manure has been here for quite a while. As you can tell, the top of this mound is still looking kind of like manure, but as you go deeper, this is almost fully decomposed. So various stages of decomposition with this manure. Anything but fresh, that's for sure. And so that is perfect for filling up my grow bed.
It all just barely fits. Now, in case you're wondering, this stuff doesn't smell at all. It's actually fairly nice. As a lot of gardeners would say, this smells like a forest floor. So if you don't know what that smells like, after watching this video, go out there, get inside a forest, smell the ground.
As I was filling up the grow bed, I raised the lotus top by putting it on 2 bricks, creating some distance so that the cold of the ground wouldn't affect it as much as it did before.
All right, a couple of days, about 18 wheelbarrows and at least a few 100 kilograms of manure on, but I finally managed to almost completely fill up the newly adjusted grow bed.
That is one big pile of shit.
Like I said, this manure is in various stages of decomposition. Nothing is fresh, especially the stuff from the IBC. I know for a fact that has been sitting there for at least 2 to 3 years, and it's basically bioreactor stuff. It's well on its way to become this clay-like material. It's full of worms, so that is really fantastic. Now, I'm not done yet. I'm planning to sprinkle some of my own bioreactor compost on top of the grow bed, water that in so that the fungi and the mycelial spores can help break down this manure even further. And then I'm going to dig out one of my own grow beds in the garden that about 2 years ago I filled up completely with wood chips. So I'm guessing that by now that has decomposed into a humus-like material. So I think that's great for topping off this grow bed. So I'm happy that the bulk of the work is done. So this is my version of the Johnson Su bioreactor. I filled it up completely with leaves and it has been composting for exactly a year now. So I thought this would be a great moment to harvest some of this compost and put a thin layer on top of the grow bed in the dome. And I also quickly wanted to show you guys how beautiful this stuff is. Now on top you can still see there's a lot of undecomposed leaves, but you only have to dig a little bit deeper to see this beautiful, rich and fluffy compost. I'll come a little bit closer to the camera. So this is very dark, rich and full of microorganisms. So this is perfect to add to the manure inside of the grow bed. So I'm gonna push back some of these leaves and then fill up the wheelbarrow and transfer this beautiful compost to the dome. So the idea of the compost from a Johnson's bioreactor is that it is very fungal rich or fungi rich. And over here you can see the white threads of the mycelial network that goes through all of this material and helps breaking it down. So that is perfect, and that is exactly what we want to see from this compost. Alright, that is done. I've put about a good inch of bioreactor compost on top of the manure, and then I give it a good water so that all that microbial life can seep in between the manure and help it decompose even more. Now, as a final step, I'm going to dig out some of the soil in one of my grow beds in the garden and put that on top of this as a final layer. Alright, that is the project done, and I'm super happy how it turned out. The two main reasons for me to actually do this is, one, I have an overall deeper grow bed so that, for example, I can grow some root vegetables in here and that the roots of crops in general have some more space to grow in. The other reason is that by doing this, I effectively double the amount of thermal mass that this grow bed can hold, and hopefully that will contribute to keeping this dome a little bit more warm during the winter days and help some crops overwinter. Speaking of overwintering crops, I've put some Napa cabbage or Chinese cabbage in here, as well as some lettuce that was still growing out in the garden, and hopefully this way I can help them overwinter and keep them growing in here up until well, maybe spring. The tub of the lotus is another thing that can help contribute with some extra thermal mass. Not right now because it's pretty empty, but that is going to be a video for another time. But yeah, this is a little bit of an oasis right now, and hopefully this can keep frost-free during the colder months. These projects are perfect to do in the wintertime when there's not a lot of stuff going on in the garden. Let me know in the comments below what kind of projects you're working on during the colder months of the year. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!